Hey, what's up, YouTube audience? Long time no see. I hope everyone is doing well. I know there have been a ton of questions as to where I've gone to and what I'm up to. Well, here is the big unveil. So, I love Arizona. I've got friends and family out there. I've lived most of my life in the state. It's beautiful. I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to go live out in the desert and escape the winter. But I personally needed a change. I think the monotony of living out there had started to get to me after a time, and even it started to affect my creative ability. I just couldn't find the energy or the motivation to go to the parks and film because I'd been to every park 5 or 6 times. Even going to Flagstaff just really wasn't doing much for me anymore. And while I'd always wanted to live in San Diego, I feel like some of the magic that used to be there in San Diego was gone. But I did have an incredible opportunity to come out here to Rhode Island, and I gotta tell you, I am loving it. So I packed up the Prius, and you'd be shocked how much you can fit in a Prius. Drove cross country over 5 days, took my time because I'm not a huge fan of driving, but it was a fun drive. I saw a lot of beautiful places along the way. Terrible roads in St. Louis City. Traffic was awful. Once I passed by New York, I had to get off the freeway for a few hours. I watched that Dungeons and Dragons movie, which was actually pretty good, and only spent $230 in gas. And now I live in the coastal region of Rhode Island. I'm like a 20-minute bike ride away from the beach. Maybe a little bit faster if I hustle, but I'm not going to be doing that. Anyways, I'm also getting to indulge on something I've always wanted to do but never really did, which was a few travel videos. So now that I'm living out here and I'm almost exploring a little bit for myself, I want to take everyone out there and show you what I'm seeing when I travel around, because there are so many beautiful locations to see. Right now, we are driving around the city of Newport, which is directly on the coast. It sits on Aquidneck Island, which is composed of 3 cities. It's a large island. You've got Portsmouth, you have Middletown, and then on the end, you have Newport. And this is a very old town. It was actually established back during the English colonial rule. And to the right-hand side, you see one of the most modern upgrades to Newport, which is bike lanes. They've begun to add bike paths, and I think that's really going to transform the tourist experience. Eventually, the bike paths are going to go all the way to the beaches, and that's going to be incredible. This is the downtown area of Newport, the main tourist drag. To the right-hand side is the bus depot, and this is where you can catch some of the tour buses that will take you around and show you a lot of the cool historical stuff. I don't know if they stop at the mansions, probably at least pass by or drive in. And we have these beautiful gilded aged mansions. You got Marble House, Rose Cliff, the Breakers. There's several more, and they were built, I think, 1900s, sometime early, maybe middle, I forget, but absolutely stunning. My grandparents used to love coming out to Newport every summer, and so they would take me with them. And so I'm kind of familiar with the city, and I've seen it grow over the years, and the transformation has been incredible. I mean, it still looks kind of the same, but they've managed to fit in a lot of stuff that wasn't there when I was younger, especially down here by the wharf. One word of caution: if you're going to do they've got a lot of pedestrian crossings, which are great. It's a really pedestrian-friendly city, but if you're going to use one of the crosswalks that are not in an intersection, please make sure to look that people are stopping for you, because I've seen some folks cross without looking, and that's just, because you have so many tourists. In the wintertime, there's about 25,000 people in the city, but that swells to 90,000 plus in the summertime with all of the visitors. So you're going to have folks who have no idea where they're going, and they're looking everywhere except the road. So don't necessarily blindly trust your life to fate. Although it is a very wealthy city, so maybe if you're lucky, it'll be a Lamborghini that hits you or something. Somewhere down here on the right, on one of these wharfs, they have one of the best sushi chefs in the region. This is what I've been told. I haven't had a chance to go over there and try it yet, but I'm hopeful one of these days. And then further down the road here on the right-hand side is a shuttered cabana, sorry. And this is like the place to see and be seen. So I can't wait to come out one of these nights and just sort of sit there and have a drink. And then maybe I'll take an Instagram picture of myself. Be like, hey, I'm here. I'm in the region, so it's a little bit of an Uber drive to get out here, but nothing that's terribly expensive. And Ubers are kind of, I'm going to say cheap in the Newport region, it's just because there are so many. There's like an Uber driver on every corner. Directly in front of us, the red brick building, that is the Red Parrot. And that's a place that's been around for God knows how many years. Come down there, have a drink, grab some food. There's also the oldest tavern further up that street there. If you were to keep going straight, the oldest tavern in America. Name I don't remember. You've got to make reservations several months in advance, but they do have a little bar there, and if there's room at the bar, you can just walk over and have a drink. The culinary options in Newport are whatever you want. They've got Irish food, Italian, Japanese. I think there's probably an Ethiopian restaurant somewhere. They've got all sorts of food. You cannot go wrong with the food scene. It's incredible. One thing I will mention, here we're on Thames Street. Now on the right and left-hand side, you'll see a lot of colonials. Those are older buildings. And this is a very popular area in the downtown region. What will happen is in the summertime, wealthier parents will buy their college-age children summer rentals. So they might rent the colonial for $10,000 a month. I don't know if that's the exact price. All I remember is that it is insanely expensive, but these are people who have money. So if you're in that category and you're thinking of renting a colonial for the summer, my advice to you is do not bring a $100,000 car down here. Don't even bring a $50,000 car down here. Get yourself a $20,000 beater. I know for most people, they're like a $20,000 car isn't a beater. But if you've got a Lamborghini at home, for that person, a $20,000 vehicle would be a beater. So just bring something like that. Even if you have off-street parking, there are so many traffic accidents that occur in this congested area. It's not even funny. You don't even have to be in your car. Your vehicle can just be parked on the side of the street and people are going to hit it. Even in this short video here, it's somewhat after Memorial Day, and so most of the tourists are gone from the city. This is very minimal traffic. During peak travel season, this road will be packed. It'll be 5 miles an hour. You've got to have a lot of patience if you're driving around Newport. Anywhere you go, you have to be alert and you have to have patience. In this video here, I did manage to catch just a minor fender bender, and luckily it was one person hitting their own vehicle. They backed into a pole, because you have folks who aren't used to parallel parking, which is something you simply have to do in this part of the town. And so they just hit that pole. I muted the sound here really fast because you're going to hear me cursing. It does kind of bother me when people are... I thought they were going to hit that parked car, and then I was going to have to pull over somewhere and give the injured party the dash cam footage. Because sometimes people will hit your car, and then they're just going to take off and go, and all you have is a damaged vehicle the next day. So that is why I do recommend a beater car if you're living down here, no matter how wealthy you are, because stupid stuff happens like literally all the time. The tourists, they don't know where they're going. They're looking for pedestrians, people on bikes. Even if they're using Google Maps, they're like, is it this left or that left? Should I drive down this one-way street the wrong way? I mean, like, I don't know what goes through their minds, but literally everything. So yeah. And if you are a cyclist, I would even recommend you have to be more alert. You cannot just trust to fate. I will sometimes bicycle in Newport, or at least I used to, and so I have a feel for it. And even though it's legal to bicycle right here in the middle of the street, I would recommend, staying off to the right-hand side, and certainly wear bright colors. Like if I'm bicycling around the region, I will have a bright orange shirt or a neon green shirt. I stick out like a sore thumb. I look like a huge dork. I've got a bicycle helmet on, the whole 9 yards. I'll look at the other cyclists. They will look at me. I can see the contempt in their eyes, and I'm just like, where are you people from? Is this your first season in the city? Because I would not trust a tourist to see me. I just don't want to end up on the front of somebody's hood. Let's just put it that way. Off to the right-hand side is Kings Park. Beautiful place to be. Sometimes they have live music. You can watch the fireworks over the bay. You can see the Newport Bridge out there. Oh, to the left-hand side, all of these houses that we've just passed by, also another very wealthy area. And the reason I mention that is because you cannot get flood insurance for those properties. Sometimes if there's a hurricane or horrific weather, this entire region will flood. It's rare, but it does happen. And so that's why those houses cannot get flood insurance, which means that they are all cash sales. When it's slower, it's nice to come down here, park your car. You can sit at a bench and have a lunch, or you can just sit in your car and watch the sun go down. I tried to pull over to get a better view of the Newport Bridge for those of you watching right now, but we'll come back to that later at sunset, and it's a much nicer perspective than the one I got right here. Peak travel season, it'll be hard to find parking, no lie. But there is another spot that I want to show off in a future video over at Fort Adams, which is a colonial 5-star fort. It's in incredible condition. They do self-guided tours, they have a gift shop, and right next to Fort Adams is a colonial era naval battleship. I don't know how often they do tours on that wooden vessel, but certainly if you can get on board, it is beautiful, very picturesque. It's wonderful for photos. And on the bluffs overlooking Fort Adams and the bay, there's this little spot where you can park your car. You can sit out on the hill, have lunch. It is a little bit windy, but in temperate weather, it's beautiful. Or you can just sit in your car, have a drink, non-alcoholic drink, I should say, and enjoy your lunch and watch the boats go by in the bay. Just beautiful, especially when it rains. I love the rain. That's one thing about living out here. People really are like, oh, it's raining and it's going to rain this week and it's gray and it's overcast. Boo. But me, I'm like, oh, yes, I hope it rains all day. I hope it stays gray for a week. I love cloudy weather with rain, just because from Arizona it barely ever rains, so it's just beautiful for me. And then you have the fresh ocean breeze constantly coming through. Sometimes at night you can hear the foghorn. Foghorn is actually pretty. Fog is pretty, although not so much fun to drive through it, I've discovered, but still nice anyways. Getting used to the freeways out here on the East Coast was a bit of a challenge for me. Arizona, if you're merging onto the freeway, you have half a mile to do it. Like, it's not stressful in the least. But out here in Rhode Island, if you're merging onto the freeway, in some areas, you have like 50 feet to get on that freeway. And I drive a Prius. It doesn't go very fast. So, like that first month of doing some freeway driving, I was white knuckling it onto the freeway. My adrenaline was spiking. It was very, very stressful. But I'm happy to say that I've gotten used to it now, and so my blood pressure doesn't even rise anymore. Also to note, there is a really exclusive college out here in Newport. It's called Salva Regina. I think I'm saying the name right. It's only got 500 students. So some of the wealthiest students in the world, I imagine, probably go to that college, because a lot of these properties, now that we're getting close to Ocean Drive, a lot of these properties are essentially multi-million-dollar estates. Oprah Winfrey, Jay Leno, I think Taylor Swift has a property out here. And then there's a lot of old money, like names we wouldn't even recognize, that have been in families for generations. So these are very wealthy properties. I did go on Zillow and I looked at Newport City, from the least expensive places to the most expensive places. And going back a decade, because you can do the historical stuff, it's really amazing how much prices have shot up. The other parts of the country, yeah, they've gone up, but Newport has exploded. And I really don't see a lot of those prices falling back down because it is so popular. Really, a lot of people want to come live out here because it's so beautiful. In the summertime, what happens, there's this charity group called Newport in Bloom, and what they'll do is they'll go around the city and they'll hang up 300 baskets of flowers, and they will give out flowers to homeowners and encourage people to just plant all these beautiful flowers everywhere. So it's just gorgeous. Women love coming out to Newport to get married, or I should say certainly wealthier women, because it's not cheap to do that. But you can get married right there on the ocean side, and it is the most gorgeous thing that has ever been seen. I mean, it is absolutely beautiful. And it's also a very safe city, so if you're a woman, you're watching this, you can come in groups, you're going to be fine. You can walk around the city, you're going to be fine. Go jogging, not going to be too many issues, because it sits on an island. It's a rather large island. It's composed of Portsmouth, Middletown, and then you have Newport down on the bottom, and that's called Aquidneck Island. There are bridges coming onto the island, and so the police, they do a good job monitoring for folks who might be up to no good. So props to the police force out here for doing such a wonderful job. And then a lot of the locals are pretty good natured, so it's a very positive attitude. People will let you turn. They'll stop their car to let you take a left, if you're having trouble getting over. Very friendly, very nice. So I hope that spirit maintains. I remember wanting to maybe go to San Diego when I was younger, because it was so magical, but over the years it seemed like San Diego lost that magic, whereas Newport has really sort of maintained it. A lot of the whole region area, southern region, I guess you'd say, because then you have Narragansett, you have Essex. Essex is a beautiful drive in the summertime as well. but the speeds are rather slow. Like even out here on their freeway, it's 55 miles an hour. Right here on this road, it is 25 miles an hour. So you've got to be a patient driver. Like if you don't have patience, then you're going to be needing to take an Uber or have someone else drive. Like you cannot be in a rush. So, and there are a lot of traffic cops. It surprises people, but even if you're in Newport at 5 in the morning, there are traffic cops just hiding behind every bush, looking for speeders, and also people who are violating their noise ordinances. You know, if you've got a really loud motorcycle, they're going to cite you on that. If you're blaring your music at 3 a.m. in your souped up car and it's super loud, you're going to get a massive fine for that. So they're pretty good about that. You know, sometimes people just want to enjoy a nice stroll without being subjected to massive amounts of noise pollution. Ocean Drive is really beautiful. My grandparents used to take me on this when I was a kid. Although it has become overgrown on the private properties, it's not the same as it used to be when I was a kid. The owners of these estates did a much better job of cutting down the foliage, so you could actually see their mansions and the ocean, and so it made it that much more enjoyable and picturesque. Now it is leaning a little bit more towards privacy, and you really can't see the ocean as much until you get to the state-owned land. But when you do, it is gorgeous. And then you've got Breton Point down here at the end, where if you want to sit out in your car and just look at the waves crashing on the rocks, you can do that. Another popular activity at Breton Point is kite flying. Like, the wind there is incredible. And you know, if you have children, it is well worth it to buy some kites ahead of time. They do sell kites. There are some pop-up stands at Breton Point. You'll see them all the time, but they sell them for an outrageous amount of money, like a $40 kite that you could buy on Amazon for $10. So word to the wise, if you're coming out ahead of time, you know, bring a kite. And there's a Walmart on the island, so there's a lot of things that you can buy at that Walmart. Go shopping there, especially if you're going to stay out here for the summer. Sometimes you just don't know what you need. Like, you can't, sure, you can shop on Amazon, but walking around the TJ Maxx home goods store, which is right next to Walmart or Walmart itself, when you're walking around, you'll get a feel for what you need when you're in the store. So very convenient to have. And I have to say, moving out here, I've been just shopping at Walmart all the time. It's almost magical. I didn't bring all of my stuff with me. I left, you know, sold things, gave them away. And so when I got out here, I did need to go shopping again. And it's like anything that I needed, or even things that I didn't know I need, I would walk into Walmart, and of course I would always go to their clearance section, because why not, right? And whatever I needed, they would have it there waiting for me. I remember one day I needed a toaster oven, or I'm sorry, just a toaster. And so I walk into Walmart and I said to myself, okay, instead of going right to the new appliances section, let me walk over to the clearance section. And so here was this sort of box that didn't look so attractive. The box had just been crushed a little bit, but there was this beautiful stainless steel toaster, and I got it for half off. It was just amazing. I got a projector. So instead of an 85-inch television, I have a projector now in my living room, and I paid $89, and normally it would have been like $150, and it's incredible. It does a great job. Is it the highest end projector in existence? It is not, but it suits my needs really, really well. And once I get a projector screen, right now it's just going onto a white wall, but once you add a projector screen, oh man, beautiful. So here is Ocean Drive, and you can see why it's so popular. There are a lot of benches. You can just sit there and stare out at the water. Just glorious. I don't go all the way down the road here. I turn around at some point because you would get bored of just looking at the ocean, I think. And plus, I had places to be that day, so I didn't want to go the entire drive. But if you do follow it and you keep going, there is a bird sanctuary much further down the road, and it has incredible walking paths. I've actually shot a review or two in years past out there when I've been out here on vacation. So it's really great that I will be living permanently in the region, and I'll get to see a lot of places. Like, I went on a drive to Jamestown today. Now, I'd never been to Jamestown before, always sort of just passed through, but they've got this really beautiful lighthouse, and it's called Beavertail Point / Lighthouse. And you can park there and see it. It's just picturesque. Worth going for sure. I'll do a video where I show you folks Jamestown, because I did take some footage today. I don't know how well it turned out. I'll review that later, but it'll be a lot of fun. So Jamestown actually wasn't what I thought it would be, but we'll save that for the video. And I'm so happy that I'll be able to do a few travel videos. I will, of course, be doing some soap videos again when I have the time. Hopefully this week I will get to shoot a few. I've got at least 3 in the lineup that I've already tested, and I'm just waiting for time to go out there and shoot the video. So the soap game hasn't changed that much since I left. Prices have gone up, and then if the prices haven't gone up for products, then they have maybe changed the ingredients or the sizes have gotten smaller. You can certainly see inflation at play in our particular category that we all love so much. Super interesting though, super interesting. And we're just gonna turn around here for a moment. I will say moving is certainly exciting. Cost me more than I thought. I don't think I really anticipated just how expensive things would be, but I am happy to report that I will be getting a new dishwasher here in the very near future. I've been washing my dishes by hand. I know, like, that's totally out of the blue here, but that's been like the biggest challenge in my life, not having a working dishwasher. Oh my god, like that just takes so much of my personal time away because I've been doing a lot of cooking. I have a, you know, a decent sized kitchen that's more usable than my prior kitchen, so I've been enjoying it. Not to mention, you know, food, if you're eating out here, it's a little bit more expensive in general, and if you're going to the fast food places, the service is a lot slower because there's definitely a worker shortage out here. All of the lower income workers, they're going to the nicer, fancier tourist places that pay a lot more money. So if you just want some Taco Bell or you want to pop over to Wendy's, you might have a little bit longer of a wait. I remember one night I wanted tacos, so I drove all the way to Taco Bell and went through the drive-thru. Got there, I was talking to the guy. He's like, "Yeah, it'll be a little bit. It's just me and another guy in the back because everyone else called out." If I had known how long I was going to be waiting, I would have just driven off. But he, you know, told me to go park. And when I went to park my car after paying for my order, I looked around and there were like 5 other cars there. And it was 10 o'clock at night. They weren't supposed to close till 1 a.m. I ended up waiting about 25 minutes. They actually shut the lights off. And by the end, it was just the manager cooking and preparing everyone's food, and that was what really sort of pushed me into cooking at home more, because, you know, paying $2.79 for a taco, I mean, I can just go down to the supermarket and I can make it. I make better tacos now. That's one thing I do miss from home though, are you know, the Mexican dishes. We have Filiberto's out in Arizona. It's a fast food Mexican chain, very popular. They're literally everywhere in Arizona and the whole Southwest region. Absolutely love them. I went just about every other day before I left, to the point that I was sick of Filiberto's when I departed. But when I go back in a few months to visit again and catch up with people, I cannot wait to go back to Filiberto's. Oh, so good. And I will have friends coming out all summer. As soon as I told people I was moving out to this region, I didn't understand how popular it was. Like, people knew where I was going to be living. More women, I think, than men. But all of my friends were like, "Oh, we're going to come visit you." So I'm almost like a little hotel. But I can't wait. I've got some friends coming in about a week's time, and they're going to have a wonderful vacation out here for 2 weeks. Even if they can't spend every waking minute with me, they will be able to drive around town and see the sights. Changing jobs, so to speak, coming out here, starting afresh, that was certainly a little, you know, how's that going to go? You don't know. But I did take my mother's advice. She always told me, you only get one chance to make a good first impression, so make the best one that you can. One little pro tip, one thing that I did when I started first day was I bought donuts for everyone, because they've got a Dunkin' Donuts on literally every corner out here on the East Coast. So I bought donuts for everyone, which was expensive, but it set me off on the right foot. And then a few weeks later, I heard my coworkers talking amongst each other in the lunchroom, and I got the best offhanded compliment. One guy was saying to another, you know, "It feels like Marvin has always been here with us." So, like, wow, that just made me really warm inside. When people feel like you've been working with them for years, that means you fit in, you're accepted. So I have made it. Very different culture, I will say though, work culture. Where I'm from, people are maybe a little bit more PR, and out here they don't hold back. They are right in your face. They don't beat around the bush, and that took a little bit of getting used to at first, but I have to say I like it. The people here are certainly real. So very nice folks. Very nice folks. I'm doing quite well with my job, although I am staying busy, so I don't have as much time as I used to for soap reviews, but I should still, as time goes on, as I settle in and things are sorted a little bit better, I should have more free time. I've been here since mid-April and definitely cold. I wasn't sure what to expect. I actually came out in January just to see if I would be able to survive the wintertime. I remember having lunch with my cousin in Providence, and she was telling me that this was one of the warmest winters that she could recollect. So maybe not the best test run. I know one month I paid $300 just for gas heating of my house alone. So yeah, expensive. That's not even including the electricity. I have no tolerance for the cold yet. I'm hoping that will change as I'm out here. But I do love the rain. Anytime it rains, just gorgeous. Love it. I know other people are really depressed when that happens, but not me. As for my living arrangements, I mentioned I have a nice enough kitchen. It is not a remodel kitchen, so the place I'm staying at is a little bit older. It's not a colonial, but it's certainly not a brand new build either. I want to do maybe some cooking videos as well, because I do like my kitchen. It's nice. The house in general, it's it's not super furnished. A lot of people would describe it as empty, but that's something I enjoy. I came from a place that was I could only call cluttered, and so I wanted to cut as much of that out of my life as possible, and I have now succeeded in doing so. One cool thing that I did, though, to really sort of make the place have more of my aesthetic vibe is I added wireless lights that you can change the color with. That's just been a lot of fun. I enjoy doing that. Like, it's the perfect bachelor pad. It's nice. I do have a little bit of a patio that I can go sit out on, and I have a view for now, but I think that view, there's always so much construction sometimes. Well, you know how it is. They build things, and then your view is gone. So I can see water, but I won't be able to see water in a few months. That's a bit of a bummer, but at the same time, too, whatever. I don't care that much. Just because I've been out here enough. Like, when I was a kid, I would spend summers out here with my grandparents, and so I'm used to the Newport area, certainly, and I'm used to seeing the bridge, and I'm used to being by the ocean. So if I can no longer see it from my back patio, I'm not saying I live in Newport, you know what I mean? I'm just saying in general, if I can't see water, I'm not really all that affected. I don't care that much. I know people would be shocked, right? They're like, oh my God, the property values. But me, I'm pretty nonchalant about that. But it's funny, I'll see the tourists, the people who are new, because there are so many little parks that you can just sort of chill in that are by the water. And around sunset, people will be looking, for instance, at the Newport Bridge. Their jaw will literally drop. You can see them entranced. So I guess I'm grateful that I do live in a very beautiful region. I'm not really anywhere that close to I can just see a little bit of it. So I don't want you to think that I'm in one of these mansions here, like right up by the water. I am very far away from the water. I can just see a little bit, so I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. Everything out here is kind of a dick measuring contest sometimes. What's the square footage on your house? What kind of view do you have? How remodeled is your kitchen and your bathroom? That's a little bit of the social scene. I don't engage in that. That's not my forte, I guess, if you would. But one aspect of the civil society that I do approve of and that I would like to get involved in eventually are the charities. So this is a very wealthy region. You've got a lot of people who have a lot of money. And when it comes to socialites, one of the things that they do, especially out here, is philanthropy. So people are very involved in donating, volunteering their time, things like that. They sit on a lot of boards of charities. And I've noticed some changes for the positive that have certainly improved the lives of people who maybe aren't as wealthy. There are, one of my coworkers calls them the projects, but there are public housing developments in Newport because they're a very sort of progressive society, I guess, city, if you would. And not to mention, too, it's probably also pragmatic because you do need people to work in the restaurants and some of these other lower income jobs. And so having low income housing means that these people are right there and they can sort of walk to work or take the bus to work. So it's a win-win for everyone. But when I was a kid growing up, I went to private school here for one summer, and very nice school. The kids there were awesome. I know some people think that the fabulously wealthy are an entirely different breed of people, and I can tell you that they're really not. People are people. It's just, you've got more resources than other people. That's about the only difference, really. Anyways, I would sit on the bank down in that touristy area. There is this hill in front of a church steeple. So I would sit out there in the summertime, and I would read my books. And I remember I'd always be looking out into the bay, and I would see a lot of the other kids. and they were going to a private yacht school where they would learn to sail. And you'd see these little tiny, smaller boats out there in the bay with all the kids, and they'd always learn, to do cool stuff sailing. But sadly, while my family could afford to send me to private school for the summer, they just couldn't really afford sailing lessons for me. And so that was one thing I always wanted to do as a kid, but could never afford. Now that I'm an adult, I don't, it doesn't bother me. I don't care anymore. But it is nice to see, I was reading about this, that same sailing school these days does have some programs for underprivileged youth. So even if you are poor, you can learn to sail. And I think that's really awesome because a lot of Newport does have a long maritime history. There's a lot of networking that goes on, I would say, because there's also a naval base. The U.S. War College is out there. So the kids that go to the sailing school where they learn all of these skills, they're going to get set up in life. They're going to meet people. They're going to end up working on cruise ships, not as people serving food, but as first mates, as boatswains, as officers, some days as captains. There's even a cruise ship that comes into Newport Harbor every now and then. I don't know which ship it is, but you'll see it every now and then. So there's a lot of networking that can occur, which is awesome. Well, anyways, I think I've really just been chatting and chatting and chatting. I'm going to try to think if there's anything more I need to say. Here we are. We're looking out. Fort Adams would be out there directly underneath the sun. You can't really see it so well, but it's sunset here in Kings Park, and it's just a really beautiful place. I'm going to adjust the angle on the camera here in a few minutes, just so it's a little bit nicer to see. It's kind of off center here. Well, I'm extremely happy living out here. It's very peaceful. It's just different. Arizona, you're kind of trapped in your house in the summertime, 6 months out of the year. And then even in the wintertime, you just got to drive really long distances to go anywhere. Whereas out here, they have a lot of very nice public parks. It's just very peaceful. I don't know if I'll enjoy it as much come wintertime, but for now, it is paradise on earth. And I do recommend, if you ever get a chance, come down to Newport. There are different hotels in different parts of the city that you can stay in. Some that are a little bit further away from the main tourist attractions, but more affordable. And with all of the Ubers, and if you can find a bike-friendly hotel, it's perfectly easy to get around and see the entire city. Also, you got to check out Cliff Walk. They have this walk where it's on the side of a cliff, right? A path, and you walk up and down the path. It goes a few miles. On one hand, your left is like the ocean, and then on the right-hand side are many of the mansions, the historical mansions that I was talking about. And on some of them, you can just sort of sit there on the lawn, have a nice picnic, enjoy everything. So it's a slower pace of life out here, but one that I am enjoying. And the nightlife is still pretty hot, though. It's a fun atmosphere. So you could be 22 years old, come out here, you're going to have a blast, or you could be 75 or 80 years old and you could come out here and you're going to have fun. There is literally something for everyone. And certainly, if you are going to get married and you've got a boatload of money, I can't think of any place more beautiful. Hawaii, sure, Hawaii is gorgeous. Everyone does the beach weddings and everything, but this is a different type of beauty. And you'll see if you start looking at some of the places, some of the mansions that you can have the weddings hosted at. Absolutely just jaw-dropping. Oh, please invite me to your oceanside mansion wedding. Just hit me up. All right, anyways, I want to thank you for joining me. I look forward to making more soap videos. We're going to have some more travel videos. And of course, as always, can continue to talk about the changing U.S. and global economy. Well, take care.